Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beardzone Sports Talk, where the takes are almost as bold as the beards. My name is David. I got Carlos. I got Scooter. Fellas, we had a weekend full of college football. The plays were big, the upsets were real, and there was a lot of teams that got completely exposed this week. And so I'm ready to dive into it because I know we have a lot to cover. But before we get into all of that, do us a huge favor. Go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. That is the best way to continue to support us as we continue to grow this college season. But fellas, I started it last week. I'm going to start it this week. FSU, y'all suck. I don't know what you guys did from last year to this year outside of losing pretty much your entire team to the draft or to the transfer portal, but you did one thing this offseason that is just getting the spotlight. DJU, I don't know what kind of money you got. Congratulations. You are the Brock Osweiler of college football. You got the money. Go ahead and now go to the sideline, maybe go up to the booth, just get off the field. Get off of the field because this guy can't throw more than 5 yards. And I mean, seriously, like, how do you get to this point and be a starting quarterback for that Florida State Seminoles in the ACC conference and be this bad? I just don't get it, fellas.
When you get paid a ton of money and you bounce around a bunch of teams, you gotta get someone to take the bait. He got Clemson to take the bait, and Dabo was like, "No, thank you." Went to Oregon State and won maybe a handful of games, and Oregon State was probably like, "No, thank you." And then FSU was like, "Well, we need someone to fill Jordan Travis's shoes." They had that younger cat last year, but he got injured too, and FSU was looking pretty good on paper, and then you roll into Georgia Tech, and you have no offense, and then you come in at home, and you throw for 50%. Before the first half, it was like 36% completion, and there were no completions beyond the line of scrimmage. None. So DJU is a joke. FSU's rushing offense was 21 yards. 21. The entire game, which averages, I think, like 1.3 yards. You're supposed to be the powerhouse of your conference, and you're the biggest laughing stock in the NCAA at week 2. FSU has to either hit the restart button completely, or they need to make some serious changes with either coaching or just can DJU, and then just tell everyone else, if you're going to play like shit, go home.
Yeah. Good.
I'm like, FS who? I'm like,
you're a Miami fan.
They did, and I'm not. Granted, I'm loving this to a degree, but I always want them ranked high when we play. So, but they've got set up with like 2 trap games. Hey, go to Ireland and play Georgia Tech. It should be fine. Which they should have won that game, and then come back and play Boston College at home against Bill O'Brien in that new revamped Boston College. And Boston College wasn't that bad last year either. They were a strong team, but Bill O'Brien's going to take that to another level. And they just, I don't know, they made a mistake at quarterback. I can tell you that. This guy, I mean, you could kind of trace DJ back to Clemson and where that fall of string of quarterbacks they had, DJ was where it was at. Like, oh, well, we're just going to replace Lawrence with DJ. And yeah, that didn't happen. And they didn't have anybody behind. This guy was the number 2 quarterback coming out of high school, but above CJ Stroud. So, and Bryce Young was number 1. So, FSU's in a lot of trouble, but it's more than him. They got the O-line is, I don't know what the heck's going on there.
Oh yeah, don't just
bad,
think
D-line's bad. Yeah,
don't just think that the hate ends at the quarterback. He just gets the spotlight of it because he's the quarterback and he's supposed to be good. But this guy is, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not very confident in my quarterback skills, but I mean, I think I might have been able to complete some of those passes that he completely missed the mark. But defense, I said it last week. I just feel like I'm regurgitating everything that I said last week. They didn't improve and they didn't seem like they fixed anything from the play calling to the scheme to the play. Everything was just horrible. But defense, you're supposed to tackle the guy with the ball. The guy with the ball is supposed to go on the ground. Okay, he's supposed to fall on the floor when you hit him, but that's not happening. That's not happening, and it just doesn't make any sense. There's no way that they should have scored a couple of those, or there's no way that some of those big runs should have been big runs because they had him trapped behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage, and somehow, some way, the guy ended up getting and breaking off for 20, 30 yards. And it was just, I mean, shout out to the rushing game for Boston College. It was definitely the strong shoot, the strength of their team. And who was it? It was Ward. I mean, that guy had a fantastic game last night. He was productive on the ground. He was productive in the air. I mean, he's everything that you want in a football player. So I mean, shout out to him. And I'm not trying to take away anything from what Bill O'Brien is going to do there in Boston College because I think that they are going to be a really good team. But gosh dang, FSU, what are we doing? Like we went undefeated last year, and again, I know you lost guys, but it's got to be better than this because this is going to be a long, painful year for all FSU fans if they don't get this turned around, and they don't get it turned around.
Yeah, they're in for a long year. I don't think there's. I mean, Norvell could turn it around. He's got that kind of, I don't know, that charisma fight behind him. But man, I never seen a team look so defeated at the end when that quarterback was just breaking off runs with Castellanos, and you could just tell the defense was like, oh, we're done.
That's the other thing. DJU doesn't bring any energy to that offense. None.
None.
I feel like he's just so in his head, probably because of all the noise that he's hearing right now. But dude, you're a quarterback, man. I mean, it doesn't get any quieter. I mean, you're just going to have to learn how to channel that stuff out and get back to the game that got you to this point. So hopefully they can turn it around. When do they say, hey, DJ, we appreciate you, but we're just going to, roll with the guy who's next in line? I don't know. But they do need to get it turned around. So, but let's stay in Florida because we had a clash of in-state rivals this weekend. And, the first half was pretty good. It was a very balanced, even game. Carlos, I know me and we were watching it over at your place, and man, I mean, we were like, okay. And then Miami and Cam Ward showed up big in the second half, and they just flipped a switch. I mean, and there was nothing that they called that was being stopped by the Florida Gators defense. Cam Ward he's going to be something special, man. He is definitely going to be something special, and Miami has a great chance to run with this team and this talent around them this year to go the distance. I really think so. I know it's against Florida, and Florida isn't that great of a football team, but I mean, dude, they beat the team that they were supposed to beat in the fashion that they were supposed to beat them in. So I like Cam Ward. I like Miami. The defense looked great. They created turnovers. Cam Ward did have that one interception. It was kind of that weird throw. But, I mean, you're going to have those outs, but nothing gets taken away from him. And, I mean, I think the first couple of drives, he just walked down the field. I mean, he was just like, oh, the defense is going to turn around. I'm just going to kind of jog over here really quick. So, but Carlos, I know that you're excited to kind of break this down and everything that you saw. So the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I mean, it's Miami. The guy's Ward is as advertised, man. He is. The guy is just. He even mentioned after the game that the game seems so slow to him, and that Miami practices were louder than the swamp. So, but when you're dominating a team, and really Florida didn't do much. They get the long run by Montrell, and other than that, they get the late garbage TD, but they Miami, I don't know how they came in 19th. I was glad, but they're going to be a good football team throughout the year. But Mertz, another DJ, man, can't push the ball down the field. Florida doesn't have. It's just the same Florida stuff that I get in arguments with Gator fans. There's no receivers there. There's just, but their defense usually is stout, but Miami's offensive line is stouter. Like, we don't know what Florida is. We'll find out over the next couple of weeks how Florida really is and if they're good or not. But I can tell you Miami's a lot better than them just by that game.
They have a very difficult schedule this year too. Florida does.
They do. One of the hardest probably ever on paper. And I mean, that's why they're over under and games started at 4. So it's going to be a long year for Gator fans and Seminole fans. I did see where their game is like on Nickelodeon this year. I don't know if that was a joke, but I know Nickelodeon was trying to get into some games. Like,
what?
That was a meme. It was a meme.
It should be there on Nickelodeon, though. But we'll see. Napier, that team's going to – I mean, did you guys see his press conference? He couldn't even open the water bottle. He was trying, and he just gave up. He's like, I can't even open this water bottle. So
offense couldn't open up, and neither would Aquafina. So whatever.
No, if I'm Gator fans, though, that Langley for the quarterback that came in at the end, man, that guy, he just came in and marched them down the field, and then they scored. So that might be a thing that Napier probably needs to get that kid a little bit more in the game. He doesn't have to start, but they did that with Tebow and God, what's the other guy? I don't know why that guy slipped in my mind. Where they went in and out. God, I can't remember the other quarterback's name.
Ryan Leaf.
No, it was the
Chris Leak, and
Tebow. Yeah.
Sorry, so wrong dude. That's totally different.
That could be something that helps them, but man, and Miami's got a very favorable schedule coming up, but I don't see Miami honestly losing a game until the playoffs. Like, I don't know who's gonna. I don't know. Like, don't see it.
Yeah, I think UM's looking at a lot of wins after watching the Gator game with UM. Mertz going down may be a blessing in disguise for the Gators. DJ Langway is the total package. I think he was neither number 1 or number 2 in the quarterback draft, or can't say draft class, but the recruit wise. And he reminds me a lot of like a Jalen Hurts, Jalen Milroe, Cam Newton at Auburn. Really, let's keep in mind that UF used to have Chris Leak and then Tim Tebow, and then you had Cam Newton, and Cam Newton left. So they could have went like generationally, like the Packers, just quarterback after quarterback and just run the table, but that's not how it worked out. And I think Mertz going down with a concussion protocol might be what they need to not look like a 4-win season. It might be really tough. Looking at their schedule, they might win 2 games. That's being very negative about it, but it's also take a look at the schedule. FSU, the top team in Florida is Miami, and then it might go UCF, and then USF, then FAU, FIU, UF, and then FSU. And then maybe FGCU probably somewhere in there. So, let's keep that in mind. Miami is going to take the ACC by storm this year. If they lose, I'd be shocked. Clemson does not look like its former self. Dabo Swinney hasn't won the transfer portal at all, and he's telling his transfers you're not going to start. So why go to Clemson? Boston College might be a big threat now. Louisville's kind of the rocket, rock the boat type guys. But UM right now, they're looking good, and Cam Ward was up for Heisman at some point last year, and it might be that time again to discuss that later down the road.
I definitely think that he's going to be in that talk. I mean, again, I know it's week 1. I know it was against Florida, but he did everything that we expected him to do, and then some. And I mean, man, the guy just looked comfortable. Like, there were some plays where he had to, run outside of the pocket and, extend the play with his feet. But the guy always kept his eyes down the field, and he just looked comfortable. And that's what you look for in a quarterback, especially when you're in these powerhouse conferences with ACC, SEC, those kind of things, because you're going to be going into some very hostile environment and going into the swamp. We talked about it last week. It's no easy, it's not easy to go in there and to deal with that noise, because Gator fans are going to bring it. No matter how good or bad their team is, they're going to bring it every single week, and they brought it. But just Cam Ward just has that maturity about him, has that level headedness about him. And I know a lot of NFL teams are going to be looking at him this coming up draft, because is he eligible this year for draft, right?
Yeah, he's a one and done guy. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, when he moves outside the pocket, he threw that touchdown rolling to his left, which is not normally good for a quarterback. But there was one thing when I watched part of the game over, he had the sense to reset his feet real quick so he could make that throw sidearm between two Gators in the back of the end zone and hit. Like, he's just, the guy is. He's going to be good, man. I don't know how he translates to the pros, but he's going to be a Heisman. He's going to be a Heisman candidate this year.
Yeah, and he seems to take care of himself. He seems to understand when to get out of bounds. He doesn't try and get contact when he's running with the ball, and he gets rid of the ball if he needs to. He makes smart decisions. He doesn't always try and get the home run. Which is good, man. He's a very solid quarterback. I was very impressed with Cam Ward. Let's move on to another quarterback that I was impressed with, and honestly, that willed his team to a victory that should have been a little bit easier than it was, and that's Schroeder Sanders. Or Shadir Sanders.
Shador,
whatever, man. Make the names
the whole Nuka
freaking
Puka thing again.
Yeah. Gosh dang, man. Just make the names easy. I'm illiterate as it is. So when you have these kind of names out there, like DJ Ukulele and whatever, dude, just make it.
Not going to work here anymore.
Anyway.
oh gosh.
But Sanders, Colorado quarterback, guy had, a hell of a game. He really did. And if it wasn't for his play, they would be 0-1 right now. Let's just be real. And of course, Travis Hunter caught 3 of the 4 touchdowns that Sanders threw. So, Travis Hunter is another beast, right? And his name is easy to pronounce. See, now the episode flows. But North Dakota State should not have been a problem for Colorado. Am I wrong in that? Because I feel like that was this like a trap game, right? It was the opening game, all the hype around Colorado, all of the transfers that came in this offseason with Colorado through the transfer portal. They got Prime there, the hype is there, the social media is there. Everything is revolving around Colorado. And I feel like that they almost fumbled. They did. They almost fumbled this bag. If it wasn't for that incredible catch there at the end, we could be singing a completely different tone. But they're heading into Nebraska this week, at Nebraska, which is not an easy environment. And I liked what Nebraska did last week. They got a pretty solid defensive line. That offensive line is still questionable for Colorado. Sanders might have to be the guy who wills this team to victory again. I just don't know if he's going to be able to do it against a team like Nebraska. I want to hear what you guys think. I'm not impressed with Colorado at all.
Neither am I. But offensively speaking, in the air raid type offense, they are fantastic. If Shador and Travis weren't best friends scoring 4 touchdowns together, then they suck. But that's not to discredit Jimmy Horn. He was an absolute stellar guy underneath and across, right? And I can't remember the other kid's name. He was number 10. Again, receiving wise, fantastic. They're not super big, but they are very shifty. They have great hands, and they are explosive. Run game is just, you got to be consistent, get some play action in there. I was really kind of upset with Colorado's defense. They should have had way more pressure and way more sacks. Defensively in their DB core, they could probably clean it up a little bit, get a little bit more attitude from the linebacking core, but their front 4 on defense needs to grow up. They need to, because they have Warren Sapp now as the defensive coordinator. Like, you can't just roll into some rivalry games and just kind of go through the flows of it, right? They didn't play a stellar team, and they kind of struggled on defense. That's not how this is supposed to work, especially when you got a Deion Sanders bringing in, what was it, $10.1 or $10.2 million growth to the Boulder area per game. Like, that's insane. You don't fire Deion even if he gets 2 wins. You got 10 mil per game. That's at least 14 weeks or so with incredible growth to your area. Start winning some games and it's going to go up. And the Colorado fan base is just incredible, man. Every single game seems to be sold out. They got all the hype in the Twitter and all that stuff, but you got to put some serious wins behind it, especially in the Big 12 when you got to make a case. You got teams like Utah and ISU and K-State. You know, it's going to be rough, and I think Arizona's in it too. And there's no slouch either. Going into Nebraska with, I think, was it the top recruit, Riola, at quarterback? The kid is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Dresses like Mahomes, probably tries to act like Mahomes, but you watch that game, you watch this.
Like Mahomes.
Yeah, but tape-wise, he looks very good. Nebraska didn't play again. They didn't play a stellar team, but they also executed the way Nebraska is supposed to play.
Right.
Their defense looked pretty good comparatively to Colorado, so we'll see how this plays out. But if Nebraska can shut down Shedeur, there's no win for Colorado. That's how I see it. Nebraska might be coming back to its old self. I know they got the dude from Temple went to the pros for Carolina, got fired within like 4 games, and now he's at Nebraska. I can't remember
the guy.
The head coach?
He was at Carolina, yeah.
Ryan or Rule.
Rule, yeah. Rule.
Yeah.
He is a good collegiate coach. I'll give him that. He does make it happen, but Nebraska is such a storied school, and it's winner get out. Look at Scott Frost and everyone else in between since their last championship of the 90s. So I think Colorado in that matchup with Nebraska is going to be one to watch just for the sake of history and the hype behind Colorado. If Colorado comes out with a win, they may have some more zest or whatever, or more legitimacy. But if Nebraska embarrasses them, Colorado is going to go away like they did last year.
And here's the thing with Colorado and Deion, and he brings a lot of glitz and glamour and big names and stuff. But I mean, if you look at college football, anytime a new coach comes in, it takes 3 recruiting cycles for them to put that stamp on the program. And he came in and cleaned house. If everybody, we remember when he sat down with their current players and he was just like, I brought my own luggage, you guys can leave. And he kicked a bunch out and started from scratch. But I mean, Colorado wasn't good when he got there. So he needs some time. I mean, he's done some good recruiting. He got the number 1 offensive lineman last year, but this kid's a true freshman. I mean, you don't get a lot that come in. He just has a ton of work to do there. The problem is by the time he gets it done, his son and Travis Hunter and Jimmy Horn are going to be gone. And those guys are really the Colorado football program, man. Shakura. I think Horn is awesome, man. This guy, he gets overshadowed by Travis Hunter, but this guy is a ball player. We're going to see him in the NFL. Yeah, he is good. So, but then Nebraska's going to be a really good test for them. Raiola, man, what a true freshman coming in. We said Rule's a good college football coach, and they're going to be a better team than, of course, North Dakota State. But we'll see. Like, I'm not sold on Deion. I'm not trying to give him an excuse, but he does need some time. I mean, crystal ball for Miami. He's had his 3 years, and now look what he's done with that program. It's just some kids don't want all that stuff. The problem with Deion is he only allows 3 players to make money in NIL, and that's his 2 sons and Travis. And nobody else makes any money. Like, Shakur is ridiculous, the highest paid college athlete. Travis gets like $1.5 million a year, and then the other son's getting like $500,000. The next closest guy after that's $20,000. So he's going to have issues because he doesn't want them all getting into the money, and he's just like, they don't have money here. So, but his son can make $2 to $3 million a year. So I don't know. I think that's where he's going to have some troubles in that aspect.
But maybe it will kind of flip around when they're gone. You know, I mean,
Maybe.
maybe he's just kind of getting these guys. I mean, I don't know. All three of those guys are going to be in the NFL, though. So I mean, they're going to make their money. I don't know. It's very
I don't know about
interesting.
Shiloh.
Shiloh, no, he's not.
Well,
Shakur
no.
and Jimmy Horn and Travis. Even
Well,
Jimmy
that's what I
doesn't
was
get that
talking
much
about.
money. Horn
No,
doesn't get
no, he
much
doesn't.
money at all. And he's arguably their best wide receiver. I mean, this guy, 190 yards last game and a couple, touchdowns. So Shakur had thrown for
Yeah.
445. This guy's going to I don't know if they're stopping him, but I actually don't see them beating Nebraska. I think Nebraska is just going to be too much for them in a sense. Like they're a D1 school. It's not North Dakota State. Like they've got some boys up front that are, yeah, they're pulling plows.
Yeah, they're
Like
corn
they're
fed.
a little corn fed.
Oh yeah. So, well, let's go into another game where it's going to be a game of the trenches, and unfortunately, there's one team that is very weak on both sides of the ball, both offensive and defensive line. But both of these teams are ranked. Both of these teams are coming in to week 2 off of wins, and that's Tennessee and NC State. I think a lot of people might be overlooking this one. I mean, Tennessee, of course, I mean, just beat the bricks off of Chattanooga, which, I mean, it's Chattanooga, right? But I mean, it's like it should be a good game. It might be a trap game for Tennessee. Maybe coming in off of such a win that they did, and how well that offensive. I mean, that that quarterback, man. I mean, he had a heck of a game. And if
You
he, I mean,
shout out
shoot,
his last name.
no, I'm not going to. Okay, so y'all know who I'm talking about. If you want to Google him, then go ahead and Google him. So, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that if he was on pace for like almost like 1,000 yards total that game, and then they were just like, all right, you can go ahead and just sit down for just a little bit. So, shout out to those uniform makers, because that blackout uniform in Tennessee is very clean. Love,
Smoky.
yeah, love that look. So, but Tennessee versus NC State. What do you guys think about this game?
Shootout. Take the
Mm.
over. The over under 60.5. Take the over. Both of these teams don't play much defense. Take the over for sure. That Nico Imavea. I'm not gonna try anymore on his last name. That QB, man, he doesn't. He just. I don't know. He's making Joe Milton seem like, man, this guy's definitely better. And then, but it's going to be a shootout because you have NC State. They've got some good weapons. Concepcion is a receiver his second year. Last year, this guy had over 70 catches, over 800 yards, 10 touchdowns. Like NC State can move the ball too, and they've got a good running back on their side too. So it's going to be I think a track meet, man. I could see this like both of these teams putting up over 70 points between the two. Like I think, but man, that Tennessee offense. What's funny is, Josh Heupel. He's from Oklahoma, won the national championship in 2000. This guy has got an offensive mind on him, so it's going to be tough to. NC State, they both got a tough day ahead of them, man. But they both quarterbacks have their favorite receivers, so who else makes plays on there? With McCall, he likes Concepcion. And then Nico with his favorite guy, who had big catches with 124 yards with Dylan Sampson. So it's going to be some other people are going to have to step up. But it's going to be a shootout. It should be a fun game to watch.
If I'm not mistaken, McCall came from Ohio State, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Ohio
sure.
State's Ohio State's been pretty consistent with pumping out decent quarterbacks. I hate saying that out loud, but Josh Heupel is absolutely an offensive mind. He's turned Tennessee around, and everyone's saying it's an offensive shootout. I would beg to differ. When you look at the teams in history last year, let's just take last year into account. NC State was giving a lot of teams a run for their money, right? And they still retained some dudes. Tennessee lost a decent portion, not just a transfer portal, but draft and stuff like that, and graduation. I would argue that Tennessee has to do a shootout to win, and NC State has to control it because they're playing in Raleigh, if I'm not mistaken here. And I've been to Raleigh Stadium. It gets loud. especially if it's a night game. God help you, because more than half that stadium's wasted, and it's going to be a great time. If Tennessee loses to NC State, I think Miami needs something to worry about. If Miami had a team to worry about in the ACC, it's NC State. If you're on the East for the SEC and you're not Georgia, probably Tennessee. I think this game's going to get a lot of views. I don't think it's overrated at all. It's Tennessee's time to put up or shut up before Georgia, because obviously UF's a joke. I don't know who else they're going to play outside of maybe LSU or somebody else, but Heupel will, without a doubt, put at least 35 on the board. NC State probably could do that too. If you listen to Carlos, take the over. They're going to score more than 60 points. It might be turnover heavy too, because they're very pass happy on both sides. I'd take NC State personally.
It should be a good game. I mean, that it's definitely a game that I look at and I'm like, man, I'm gonna watch this game, like, because I think it's gonna just be fun to watch this game. And plus the fact that these two teams, again, they're coming in, they're ranked, but they're not like the teams everyone's watching them, right? Like they're not the Michigan, they're not the the other powerhouses, Georgia and all that. But they're still ranked, they're still good teams, they're still teams that you can't just, oh, this is going to be a win. You're going to have to prepare for them, you're going to have to play well against them, and definitely protect the football. So interesting take with the turnovers, because that's definitely something that maybe if there's like a parlay or something like that with turnovers or interceptions for this game, maybe look into that. So, but
Definitely
let's
see
go
the Vols
into
guy.
what's that?
The Vols guy, Nico, their quarterback, because he's got a cannon, and I could see him trying to force some stuff. So that turnovers could. McCall, not so much, man. That guy's pretty solid.
Yeah. So, but let's go into our next game. Now, this game is there's these two teams. Their power right here. You got the Michigan Wolverines. You got to be playing the Texas Longhorns this weekend. Texas is ranked 3rd in the nation right now. Michigan is ranked 10th in the nation. So yeah, I mean, we even got to see a little bit of Archie Manning last week. I know it was because he came in because it was garbage time, but he threw a touchdown. He looked good, so that was kind of fun to watch. But what should we watch for this game, fellas? Michigan versus Texas. We got a lot of history with these two teams.
Look at Michigan's defense, man. They have the best corner in college football, with Will Johnson, and they have the best tandem defensive tackles in football, man. Between Graham and Grant, that defense is good. Like, they've got some players, and we're going to see what Texas has definitely made. I personally think Texas has a chance of winning the SEC. It's a good football team with their QB's experience with Ewers, and they got a good football team to start. Kezian is a good coach. It's a Nick Saban tree guy, and they also have, man. Michigan loses all these guys to the draft, but Harbaugh did a great job recruiting. They lose Corum to the NFL, but they got Edwards, and Edwards had those 2 breakout runs against Washington last year in the Natty game. So this guy is stout. The new quarterback. He's good. Like, he protects the ball. Like, and man, it's Michigan football, man. They do lose their MVP from last year from what was the signal caller guy? Caleb, what is that guy's name? Connor Stallions. You guys watch that documentary of him stealing the signals?
The sign stealer.
Yeah, it's a great. If you guys haven't watched it on Netflix, it's a great watch. This guy's comes from the Naval Academy. Like, he's top, man. It exposed a lot and changed the game to where now they do the signals like the NFL through the headsets. But yeah, it's gonna be a hell of a game. I can't wait to see this, man. I don't even know who to pick here. Part of me I'm gonna go with Texas, but it won't surprise me if Michigan wins this, man. That defense is really, really good.
Sign stealing's been around for a long time.
Oh yeah,
and trying to call out Michigan and all that. Go home. You're drunk. It is a good series. Go watch it. It's on Netflix. This is not a plug at all. We do not get paid whatsoever. So if you're looking at the Michigan and Texas game, Michigan's defense absolutely needs to hold out. You got Sarkisian and Ewers and everyone that's a track star on Texas. If you run a sub 4-5, you're on the team, or 4-4, 4-3 now, whatever it is. So Sarkisian's going to be more tactical about this. They have to be tactical about it, and the run game has to be more consistent. You got to wear down that front four. Dude, Michigan's front four is ridiculous, and on top of that, you got their DBs. Like if it comes to a score for score or field goal, I think it's more on Michigan's side. If Texas is up for a touchdown, I'd probably say it's their win. The coaching staff for Michigan changed slightly. The guy who took over for Harbaugh during those weird suspension time, he's a fantastic coach, and he's a great motivator, and he knows how to leverage his coaching staff to get the best out of his players. 100%. Donovan, stellar running back. I don't know how he's not in the Heisman conversation. I know it's very quarterback heavy, but he needs to be in the conversation as well. That's a very good pro style offense-defense combo for Michigan. They're going to be hell for every team in the Big Ten and outside. This is the first Big Ten SEC key matchup. Texas needs to own the fact that they were from the Big 12. They need to own their stake in the SEC. So why not win against Michigan? This could be a total coin flip, but I think Texas is on that prove it mode, like similar to how they had with Vince Young in that run. And I think Texas has more to lose in this game than Michigan does, honestly. But I like Texas in this matchup simply because of Sarkisian being that tactician that he is. And they got to prove something in the SEC. Why not take down the last champion?
That's true. Michigan's got some outs because they can say they lost Harbaugh and everything, but Texas doesn't have any outs. They're ready to go.
All or nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a big game for Texas to really kind of make their mark back in the SEC and just kind of, hey, we're still around. We are still a football program over here, although we've been quiet for the last couple of years. But should be a good game. Should be a very defensive heavy game. Just good overall game. I feel like with these two teams. I want to touch base on a game that happened last week that I feel like we kind of skipped over because it was an interesting game, and it was between the LSU Tigers and the USC Trojans. LSU, Brian Kelly. Damn it, I'm frustrated. I just moved my camera.
I wanted to win. That's all you got. Brian Kelly is garbage. Dude, watch every team he's ever coached. It's so much hype. He sucks. Go home. Oh, if he did not have Jalen last year, garbage. Absolutely. And that's what we saw. You got shut down. You got outcoached. Freeman ran the table on you, and go home. You take your cash and go home. Brian Kelly's overrated. I digress.
Well, I mean, listen, this LSU team should have won that game against USC, but there is some dumb decisions, throughout the entire game. You can't really necessarily pin down a certain penalty that really, turned the tide. Even that last minute or that late targeting penalty that happened on that last drive. The dude still caught the ball. Incredibly, he still caught the ball. I mean, I don't know how he caught it, but shout out to that guy. He's definitely Sports Center top 10 play right there. But that catch put him into field goal range, so they probably would have just, run the ball, another time and then call the timeout. And then they went to go run the ball again, but because they got that additional 15 yards, they were able to score and seal the game up that way. So, but I mean, both teams. I mean, the Tigers, I think, play Nicole State this week, or Nicole State, however you want to pronounce it. So I mean, listen, man, I'm illiterate. I am, but and I'm new into the college world, so I don't know all the colleges. There's like hundreds of them. It's insane. But should be an easy win for them. I think Brian, it should be kind of like okay, let's get back into the groove. Let's get back to some game planning. But USC, they take on the Utah State this week. So what do you kind of see from these two teams after last week's matchup?
Well, LSU
It's
plays Nicole's. Nick. It's a very small school that needs a new locker room. So
See,
they're Nick. Man, I have it right here. I can spell it.
see,
It's Nichols. So
Mickey.
he was Kelly. I think just so frustrated that he couldn't. The mentalities there with LSU. Even last year, they couldn't finish the game. Like they had their opponents where they wanted them, and they just couldn't close it out. So he said in the press conference that was his. And he did own it. I give it to him. He said it's
He
my
did.
bad, and they just can't close out. Like they've had some man. Last year's team was really good, and they don't have a bad team this year. They just can't close out games. It's stupid stuff. So I don't know. It's prep, maturity. I mean, actually, it's both. It's preparation and maturity that's killing them. So that falls everything back on the head coach. So I don't know. They get the warm up game. They should get hopefully some confidence back, work on some things, and then after that they'll start hitting their schedule and stride. USC just keeps going, man. I don't see much at it. They've got some games ahead of them. They'll beat Utah State. Then they got Michigan after that. Then they play Wisconsin, which is going to be a good team. Like they've got some games ahead of them.
Minnesota, Penn State. Yeah, it's not going to be an easy run for them, for sure. After this week,
No.
dang.
no. I think LSU is a lot like the NASCAR world of Bubba Wallace. You get a lot of chances and you choke. That's just Brian Kelly. You got Lincoln Riley and USC. I misspoke earlier with Freeman. My bad. Lincoln Riley's overrated as well, and I think USC is not going to have a chance in the Big Ten for a while. So give them a cupcake game for week 2 for both of them. Get their little, sugar high. So when they get beat 45-2 or something like that by your own conference, so be it. That's just my 2 cents.
We always appreciate your 2 cents around here, Scooter.
The one that we didn't really touch on was, man, what do you guys think of Notre Dame?
That was going to be my next game. Notre Dame, dude, I love it. The Fighting Irish, they showed up. That running game.
Nah, not really.
That defense,
They
that
had
defense showed up.
198 rushing yards.
That's
right?
about
and
it.
That defense showed up. They kept Wegman to
Bregman,
100. Yeah, to 100 yards passing. Had him turn the ball over 2 times. They stopped the run completely on Texas A&M side of the ball. I liked what I saw from the Fighting Irish last week. Now, are we going to see it throughout the year? I don't know. Probably not. That's what Scooter likes to say because he likes to hate on the Fighting Irish. But
they have the easiest schedule in the world.
Well, then they should win. So fight on.
There's no fight there.
Never bet against the church, man. No, bet against the church. I will say Al Golden has that defense, man. They have the best overall secondary. I think they do, in my opinion, in college football when you look at the whole secondary as a whole. But Al Golden, man, he knew it's like he knew the play, man. He called a damn good defensive game. And Al Golden was a Miami coach, and I didn't care for him at Miami, but he called a good game, man. Notre Dame looked pretty good. Riley Leonard, man, that guy at Duke was a player. He's a player. Like he can run. They're going to be, man. I don't even think I can say it. No,
don't.
They're going to lose the game.
Yeah, they're going to lose.
Win in playoffs.
They'll probably choke to FSU or Miami. Or USC, or Navy, because that's a rivalry game. Why not choke to your rival? Purdue might beat them. I honestly don't think Notre Dame has the complete package. I really don't.
At this point.
Really don't.
They don't have a great schedule. It is an easy schedule. They have Louisville and like Georgia Tech, but I think you're going to see Louisville's like going to be a thorn in everybody's side. Georgia Tech will come back. They got their win, good for them, but they're not somebody I'm really super worried about. But they don't have really anybody else.
Last weekend.
Yeah, and they play Army, Navy, FSU. They do have USC. They in the year that's like another big rivalry game for them. But who knows what USC after USC goes through the Big Ten, they may be out of gas. They'll be out of gas by then. They're gonna see some teams they're not used to coming out of the Pac-10. Man, they're used to speed and not a lot of like power, and they're gonna run off a lot of power football. So, yeah, I mean, I think they're good. I don't want to talk about it. I think they're going to run the table. They're going to be in the playoffs, and they're probably going to get beat by freaking somebody. I hope it's Miami. We owe them one. So, but they look good.
Well, anyway, let's move on to the team of the hour for Mr. Scooter over here. The USF Bulls are facing the Alabama Crimson Tide this weekend, and you know what? A lot of people might say, Alabama, USF, come on, please. But Golish, is that how you pronounce this guy's
Coach
name?
Golish is a beast.
This
man.
guy has Alabama's number. He seems to be just that thorn in this side for Alabama, but it's a new era in Alabama. So will the thorn continue to dig in, or will this be just another game to kind of sweep underneath the rugs for the powerhouse of Alabama? I want to hear your take. How are the USF Bulls going to upset Alabama this weekend?
Well, the stakes are a little different this time around. It's Coach Golish's second year. It's the new era in Bama, and we're playing in Tuscaloosa this time around, and not Ray J, so it's not in our favor. We still have Byron Brown. Dude's a freaking just stellar athlete, man. Coach Golish in that offense. If the offense is clicking and we're scoring, like it might be score for score. I am not underestimating Alabama. I'm not saying they're overrated at all. I think on paper, Bama's top 5 in like every game. I still think they're the team to beat in the West for the SEC. Texas. Oh, sorry, there's no more divisions. I'm age showing there for a second, but Texas and Bama, Georgia. You know, I think Bama is still a threat. I don't have no idea how if they lose this game, they may not be in the playoffs. But they did lose to Texas last year, and still ended up, making a case. So there's that. Because they beat Georgia in the championship, which is nuts. So, but if USF wins this game, I don't know how we don't go undefeated. Like everyone's saying, oh, Memphis and all this stuff for the eight American Conference. If there's a sliver of a chance, if I looked at ESPN, I think we have like 1.5% chance to win or something crazy. If you could pull that up. But our offense, when it clicks, is absolutely electrifying. Coach Golish has, I think they call him like the Mad Russian or something like that. Dude is insane. Defense absolutely needs to get in gear. I don't think we've had defense for the past like 10 years. So I would appreciate if the front four got some sacks and a turnover or two. That'd be great. But we are playing Alabama, and I'm still going to say the Bulls are going to win. There's an incredible amount of bias behind that. I don't think we win by a lot. It's still Bama's house, and I'm not even going to underestimate the Crimson Tide. What's the percentage win?
I don't see the percentage, but the spread
low.
The spread is 31.5 points.
Really?
So,
That's actually it was 17-10 last year. Okay, let's keep that in mind. And in kind of similar setting, new coach for USF last year, new coach for Bama this year. So anything's possible. And it's prior to us playing Miami. So hypothetically, if USF beats Bama, we're better than Miami going into Miami. Hypothetically.
I think USF has a chance if somehow Bama forgets there's a game Saturday. Because somebody just got 22 guys just got to show up. It doesn't matter what 22. But what I find interesting about Bama, they are so much different from last year being under that Saban regime where it's business. We're coming to business. But if you watched that game last week or you saw any of the highlights, Those guys are on the
Oh,
sideline celebrating. Like Saban was probably cringing, like those guys better get off the camera. Like he did not. It was like you scored a TD, act like you
he's
did.
having a stroke. He's like,
He
oh.
he definitely is, man. But Kalen DeBoer, he's got them loosened up, man. Um, yeah, I don't see us a. Hey, I'm pulling for him. I'd love to see them beat Bama in that way. When Miami beats them, it's just like, makes it a little bit better.
I said 1.5% chance of winning. I understated that. I apologize to the USF community. It's a 2.3% chance. So you're saying there's a chance.
So you're saying there is a chance. Well, chances are, if you made it this far listening to this episode, you guys are the real MVP. So shout out to you. We definitely appreciate the continued support. And yeah, go ahead and do us a favor. Follow us on all of our social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we are on Instagram. We're definitely going to be getting more active on those social medias as we get into this season. PSA for all of our listeners, we will be starting our new schedule coming up for the college football and NFL season. We do both college and NFL here. And then in the off season, we dabble in other sports. But as of right now, football is king, and it will remain the king until Super Bowl and national championships are done. So, but starting next week, we are going to be having a Tuesday episode. That Tuesday episode is going to be covering everything that was the NFL over the past weekend. Then we're going to have our Wednesday episode, which will cover college football as you are seeing today. And then we will also have a Friday episode that will be coming out. And that Friday episode is going to be looking at the games ahead for the NFL. So just one college episode as of right now. If you guys would like to see more college episodes, definitely let us know down there in the comments below. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe button, as it is the best way to continue to support us here on this channel. But until next week, you beautiful people,
Beardzone